Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mac. Boys and girls, we are the news now. Handle with care.
I didn't want to go on.
All right. We're doing a reveal. His name's Jack.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Got some new Q for you. You want to hear it? Here it goes. Where we last left you, Intrepid Explorers, we were at 28:43. We are now at 28:44, 27 minutes after the hour 11. We get this Twitter link right here to our friend and patriot Julian's Rum, who says, holy, now this is a Q proof. Skiff, DC, and Capital, hashtag QAnon. We got a couple graphics here. The first one here, and this is posted 643. I'm not sure if that's the actual post number, if it's just the Q map post number, 643. But this was from back in the 29th of January. Narrative shift, nation on alert, firing Rod Rowe being Rod Rosenstein equals block Mueller equals setting up to fire Mueller equals red line. Remember, Rod Rowe is the bus driver. So if you fire the bus driver, you've no longer got a bus. And that's a red line for the deep state. So down here, I just want to take you to the part that's highlighted here at Skiff at DC Capitol. Well, what was at the Skiff? Skiff being a sensitive, compartmented information facility. This is where you go to talk without your phony phone so that nobody can hear what you're talking about, right? And it looks like we're talking about one at the DC Capitol. Remember, this is from January 29th. Well, who was here? It looks like we've got real-time 7 congressional members, plus 3 senators, plus 2 former Obama senior officials, plus 4 outside contractors. Well, you shouldn't probably be having some outside contractors in a Skiff. Looks like no clearance, top sensitive level clearance at Skiff, DC Capitol. Top secret clearance is mandatory for admission. How is that possible? Yeah, indeed, that's a bit of a conundrum, yes? Now, the other one here is to a tweet from Paul Sperry, who says, breaking, McCabe says Rosenstein tried to bounce GOP Representative Nunes, head of the House Intel Committee, from the Capitol basement Skiff when he and McCabe briefed the Gang of 8 about opening an espionage and obstruction investigation on Trump in May 2017. Okay, so are we referring to the same conversation here? Thanks to Julian's Rum for that nice little connection there. And it works out perfectly because Q wants to talk about it. What is the process to enter a Skiff? Well, I would assume that you need the necessary badges just to even get to the Skiff. From there on, I don't really know because I've never been in one. And if anybody has any personal experience or whatever, they can let us know. But I would assume there's got to be some sort of ID badges. There's probably some sort of code or whatnot. And then some sort of log that is being maintained as to who enters. What security level must exist in order to gain entry? Well, let's refer back to the post again. What did Q say? Top secret clearance is mandatory for admission. So that's Q's words. Can non-security level persons be invited to participate? Again, I don't know because I'm not privy to it, but I'm assuming probably not. Do logs exist for each designated meeting? Well, I would think if this is the White House, it better be. Do logs record in time and out, who in, who out? I would hope so. Ability to enter, arrange without a paper trail. Yeah, I would think as modern as you get, there probably is, there may be an electronic log too, but if you're doing this without a paper trail, I would say that you're doing it wrong. Now, that's just my guess. Again, I don't know the process, but it looks like Q is sort of alluding to this. Real time, January 29th. Identified not for Anons. So whoever was in that room, and we see it back in that post, we have an idea of what their roles were. We don't necessarily know who they were. And it looks like that's not intended for us to know. Now, that may be because there's ongoing investigations, which is probably the most likely reason. And of course, I'm sure there's national security reasons too right now. If we're meant to know, I'm hoping that we'll know. And I'm sure John Solomon will let us know, right? Identify January 29th, 2018 and run back 1 through 2, not for Anon. So whatever this is here is probably to let the bad actors know that they know, and they know exactly what's up and how. We don't have necessarily the details, but we're a little bit privy to know that this was in regards to that meeting. Skiff logs can be very revealing. Well, there you go. There's our answer. It looks like we do have logs, whether it's electronic or a paper trail. I'm guessing it would probably be the paper trail, but either way, Q is letting us know that they have it. Hussein's United States Secret Service code name was Renegade. Define renegade. Well, you do it for us, Q. A person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. Synonyms: traitor, defector, deserter, turncoat, betrayer. There you go. And we've known that for a while, that was his code name. So if the United States Secret Service is calling you renegade for this reason, they must know something, right? And it looks like a couple of his officials were in this skiff. So hopefully we'll start getting some more information on this. It looks like we probably won't get all of it, as some of this is not for Anons, but this is definitely a call out to the bad actors to let them know that they know. Let's move on to 2845. 55 minutes after the hour of 11, responding to an Anon who says this: Elizabeth Coe from Tampa Bay Times here, doing on a balanced story on Q for this Sunday's paper. Wanted your input on the biggest thing that happened this week. Will be a fair article. Been following this board somewhat, so save the flaming comments and give honest input, EK. And then we get this here. This is interesting. This is entitled 2703, and it's a tweet. I can't see if I can get it any closer here over here. Here it is. This is from Edward Poole. I canvassed for months with a hernia to get Joan Ryanfield elected as Labor MP under this leadership and this manifesto. If she is no longer Labor, she should trigger a by-election and let Enfield residents decide. Yeah, I guess she ruffled quite a few feathers. Here she is right here with Ed Poole when she announced that she was going to go ahead and go as an independent, and it certainly bothered Ed Poole. After all, he canvassed for months with a hernia. So you got to give it to Ed Poole. He's got some fortitude right there. Here's his Twitter. He's obviously a big fan of Trump, as you can see by the Trump baby blimp on his profile. But I'm not here to bag on Ed Poole at all. Best of luck to you, sir. He gets a response from this John McDonald, Labor MP for Hayes and Harlington and Shadow Chancellor. I like that. Join the Labor Party here. And he's got something to say to that tweet. He says simply, Q. Now, this looks to have been deleted. I don't know these people, so I'm not really sure if you have it, you have it or whatever, but here it is. But it looks to have come from him. Now, this is interesting because he's a Labor guy, so I'm not really sure what that meant. But like I said, I can't seem to find it anymore. Now, Q responds also and says, we are the news worldwide. And of course, this is in response to this Elizabeth Coe. Now, this seems very interesting, Elizabeth Coe from Tampa Bay Times. Seems like a strange place to announce your story. Seems like you could have done that on a different platform, but you went to the Q platform, and of course that opened her up to a world of hurt on HN. I am not going to cover that, but if you're a glutton for punishment, feel free to enjoy that over there on HN. But I suppose if you wanted Q's input on a biggest thing that happened this week, it would be good to just go ahead and report on this entire board, right? Like the rest of us have been doing. That's what we've been doing. Did you think that you were going to skip to the head of the line because you were from Tampa Bay Times? Now, no hating on Elizabeth Coe or the Tampa Bay Times. Just saying, seems like a strange place to approach Q. Well, Q says we are the news now worldwide. That's you and me and you, us guys, we, and you, Elizabeth. Let's move on. 2846, 2 minutes after the hour 12. We get this screenshot right here. Takes you to Lion of Judah at Judah's Trumpets on Twitter. I just gave you a follow, Lion of Judah. Looks like they check out the show, so congrats on the Q mention. And they post this screenshot, hashtag QAnon, hashtag FBI episode 13. So I've never heard of this show, but it looks like we've got another Q mention. And nice screenshot there, Lions of Judah. Who the hell is Q? Yeah, good question. Looks like that question's starting to grow, right? Now, we talked a little bit about the NCIS episode yesterday, and because I don't watch TV, I can't really give you any context. So I wouldn't know. Somebody did send me another screenshot of what I would guess maybe was a lady sitting opposite of this man, because it was the same thing. Who the hell is Q? And I think it was a lady sitting down, but I'm not really sure. But it looks like it's starting to seep into multiple episodes. Now, as far as the context, I couldn't speak to it because I don't know the show. I don't know if they're trying to clown Q or if they're kind of trying to start introducing the legitimacy of Q. I suppose either could be possible. You guys can let me know if you've seen it to give us a little bit of context there. But I think the thing to take away here is that people are asking the question, who the hell is Q? And Q says right here, Be ready for the Q. So it looks like the Q question is going to be coming very soon. Be ready for the Q, Anons. Eyes on increasing plus each day. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the numbers you're seeing down below, and I'm sure you already know this, they're lying to you. And the numbers are actually overwhelming. And all I can tell you is I know this from the sheer amount of my email I'm getting each day. I remember each kind of stage in growing this channel, and it's been great. I love hearing from you. It's been such an outpouring, but the numbers are I mean, I wish I could give you a screenshot of that. I won't, but of just my inbox, it's massive. And it's not just me, it's all these content creators, right? And it's because people are following, and that's why they're lying about these numbers. You are the news now. Yeah, that's a pretty that says a lot to people like me. I know that, and people like me that are doing this kind of stuff. And you yourself, you're actually creating the news, not in your narrative and in your shaping of the narrative, but in your discovery on the way of finding out what the truth is behind these stories. And it's really incredible. And we have now this sort of potential for a collaborative news media, which keeps us all kind of honest, and it keeps us goal-oriented. There's so much to look forward to in all this. You are the news now. Handle with care. Yeah, we don't need to be wasting our time trying to tear each other down. If there's something you're not feeling, just move on. That's all I can say to you. You know, the hate's out there, and it's always going to be out there. And we have one chance to get this right. And just like we want our officials to do everything right in DC, if we really, really want to create this new media, we got to focus on our goals and focus on what we want. Not what we don't want, but what we do want, what we want to create, and what we want to envision. And the rest will take care of itself. It'll never be perfect. It'll never be perfect. But if we handle it with care, we might be able to just do something right here. And so this is very exciting. Who knows what this QAnon question is going to be, because it's probably going to, it's going to be a massive tidal wave. Once it finally gets legitimized, imagine what the numbers will be then. And it's going to be a whole different ball game, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to remember that I don't know that we realize what that truly is going to mean until it happens. Let's move on to the next post, 2847. 35 minutes after the hour of 12, we get this post right here. It's from April 9th, 2018 at 6:34. And this was in response to an Anon who had said, did Anons ever figure out what Q meant with the baby on floor, hands in mouth, the start? Was this Syria false flag? Yeah, we were talking about, gosh, I don't want to go deep into this because it's a big, deep subject. But for context of this post, Q was talking about chemicals. Finally, chemicals, learn our comps. Talking about bleach, talking about all kinds of things that are in all your products. And I suppose if you have a baby and they're on the floor and the floor's been cleaned with whatever, and then their hands go in their mouth, their feet go in the mouth, that's the start. That's the start of how they dumb us down with all these chemicals. And the chemicals are in anything. And, we could go on for a long time about this, right? They're in our food, they're in our packaging, they're in sprays, they're in our hair products, skin products, things that we eat. You name it, right? And that was the whole point. Learn our comms. Then we get this article right here from sciencenews.org. Why kids may be at risk from vinyl floors and fire-resistant couches. Chemicals called semi-volatile organic compounds have been linked to health problems. Home decor like furniture and flooring may not be notorious polluters like gas guzzlers, but these indoor consumer products can also be significant sources of potentially dangerous chemicals. Kids who live in homes with all vinyl flooring or living room couches that contain flame retardants have much higher concentrations of chemicals called semi-volatile organic compounds in their blood and urine than other children. Researchers report those results February 17th at the annual meeting of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Okay, so we're not going to go way through this here, but I do want to give you the numbers. Children living in homes with all vinyl flooring had concentrations of a byproduct of the plasticizer benzyl butyl phthalate in their urine of about 240 nanograms per milliliter on average. Meanwhile, kids living in homes with no vinyl flooring had only about 12 nanograms per milliliter on average. Well, that's a big difference. That's a whole lot of nanitude. Children with the highest exposure showed 20 to 40% of the reference dose for benzyl butyl phthalate. That is the highest daily dose that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency considers safe to ingest without negative consequences over a person's lifetime. Wow, so this is pretty creepy stuff, right? And like we said, this stuff is in everything. So let's see what we can do. Showering and washing clothing more frequently may curb people's susceptibility to picking up these chemicals, Morrison said, but there's a limit to how well those things work. Ideally, indoor consumer products should be free of dangerous chemical ingredients, he said. A better understanding of how semi-volatile organic compounds build up in the body may inform regulations on which chemicals can be used to make household products or help customers make better decisions about healthy, safe choices. Okay, so this is a big topic worthy of its own documentary, and I'm sure there's multiple documentaries already about this topic, right? Chemicals, chemicals, chemicals. And I know it's really easy for me to just sit here and say they put chemicals in everything, but that's not really that simple, is it? We're talking about numerous companies, numerous kinds of chemicals, as well as numerous levels of culpability. Let's face it, some people just innocently work for companies that happen to put chemicals in things, right? So, you can't really charge everybody, but the important thing is that we start to see this kind of science. Look, I don't know how important that many nanograms difference is, but it seems like a big difference. And it seems like enough that they did a study on it, and it seems like it could be doing our children quite some harm. So this is good information to know, because once we finally do know this, one thing that hits every single home, regardless of your race or your political persuasion, you are going to want to take care of your children. So it's great that information like this is coming out so that we can at least talk about it and start to find alternatives that can keep our kids and ourselves safer. Well, Q says you have more than you know. 5-5, meaning all good. Do you understand? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Now, back here, I just want to point out that a lot of these chemicals here, Q was also alluding to the fact that, indeed, this was a false flag in Syria. And this was in regards to it was a staged chemical attack, right? So these chemicals are likely getting through into lots of things, drugs, products, all kinds of stuff. Q is saying you have more than you know. And it looks like this science article just kind of illustrates that point. Let's move on for now. Post 2848, 40 minutes after the hour of 3 p.m., we get this link to the Miami Herald, right? Ha! From the Miami Herald, federal prosecutors broke law in Jeffrey Epstein case, judge rules. Federal prosecutors under former Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta broke the law when they concealed a plea agreement for more than 30 underage victims who had been sexually abused by wealthy New York hedge fund manager Jeffrey Epstein, a federal judge ruled Thursday. While the decision marks a victory for crime victims, the federal judge, Kenneth Mara, stopped short of overturning Epstein's plea deal or issuing an order resolving the case. He instead gave federal prosecutors 15 days to confirm with Epstein's victims and their attorneys to come up with a settlement. The victims did not seek money or damages as part of the suit. Yeah, this is an incredible twist. We actually talked about this story, I'm sorry, I don't know which episode, but it was a few weeks ago by now. And we were kind of hoping that they were going to get a chance to get their stories heard. Now it looks like this judge, Kenneth Mara, who stopped short of overturning Epstein's plea deal. It looks like him, by giving them time to do this seems very suspect to me. This seems like a way to buy them out, threaten them, likely both. Buy them out by threatening them. But this is really not good news for the victims. Now, it's not clear whether the victims, now in their late 20s and early 30s, can, as part of the settlement, demand that the government prosecute Epstein. That's what they wanted. They weren't seeking money and damages. They wanted to prosecute Epstein. But others are calling on the Justice Department to take a new look at the case in the wake of the judge's ruling. As a legal matter, the non-prosecution agreement entered into by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Florida does not bind other U.S. attorneys in other districts. They are free if they conclude, if it is appropriate to do so, to bring criminal actions against Mr. Epstein and his co-conspirators, said lawyer David Boies, representing two of Epstein's victims who claimed they were trafficked by Epstein in New York and other areas of the country. Okay, so playing hardball right here. And, I hate to say it, these stories just break my heart, but it's people like Kenneth Mara that need to be ultimately held responsible. And I guess it's all part of this new media that we're talking about, right? Making sure that we hold people accountable really on a local level before they even get to DC. But here we are, more red tape keeping victims from getting their justice. And we know that Epstein was clearly guilty. He already been prosecuted. Look at that smarmy face on him. So this is, I'm afraid to say, just a really, really sad chapter to this story. Hopefully this story is not over. Equal justice under the law or rigged system. And we know it's a rigged system, and we know why. Remember, this is the Southern Florida district, right? Being a Clinton donor really pays off. And of course, that's what Epstein was. So we don't know how this is going to end. I guess we're going to just have to kind of keep following this story. But it looks like this judge, definitely should be held accountable by his constituents. Let's move on to 49 minutes after the hour of 3. Hate Hoax by Biggie Smollett. We're talking about that actor that nobody knew. I don't know, maybe you knew him. Jussie Smollett. False flag designed to pass anti-lynching law. Yeah, if you remember, Smollett had been seen campaigning with Kamala Harris. I haven't seen any pictures of him with Cory Booker, but it wouldn't surprise me. But he was definitely a anti-Trumper, right? And he goes out and he hires a couple of knuckleheads from Nigeria to be white supremacists, which is awful casting. Gets wall-to-wall fake news coverage. Yeah, everyone's pounding the war drums of this, right? Just like the Covington situation. Real hate, real violence, and fascism carried out by members of Antifa gets zero coverage. Yeah, I don't ever see it. That's when I see actually people actually getting hit, though. We actually get video. We see it maybe on a Facebook post or a Twitter post, but we won't see it in the mainstream media. Reconcile 1 = 1. Well, no, it doesn't. Look, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind, right? When will the FBI conclude their investigation into Antifa? And remember, there is one. What happens if the phone records of Smollett leak? Well, look, this is already falling apart for Jussie Smollett, who, by the way, was arrested, and the police chief went off on him on TV, and I'm afraid I don't know his name off the top of my head. But it was very clear that he was bothered by this because, after all, he's got to divert all his resources to this knuckleheaded story, and it makes them look bad just by having to deal with it. Who did he talk to multiple times prior to turning himself in? Political forces at work? Yeah, well, it looks like we might have some phone records of him connecting his DC knucklehead connections, and I suppose that would be further damning. But this guy was arrested, and he's already been released on bond, and from what I understand, already went back to his show. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Empire, that was the show. He went back to his show, working on there. Now, look, I don't really care much about that because that's Hollywood, and they're going to protect him. And that shouldn't surprise any of us. I know it's outrageous, but it's not worth the outrage. But this guy is self-destructing as we watch. And I spent some time even on some left-leaning media watching them talk about this because I was curious what they had to say. And really, they're saying the same stuff. Now their twist on it, of course, is that this is the kind of stuff that really kills their narrative. When, of course, we know what that narrative is that it's all hate white people and white nationalists, right? Political forces at work, of course. Enemy of the people, of course. Q. Let's move on to 2850. Q adds on with this Fox News article right here. Jussie Smollett's alleged hate crime hoax sheds light on similar phony accusations. And there's a little video here. I'm going to play a clip in just a second. But this article goes on to talk about other incidents, not just Jussie Smollett's case, but where we saw some basically hoaxes, right? Ex-Drake student Kissy Ram guilty of lying about racist notes. New York woman Adwoa Lewis falsely claimed teens yelled Trump 2016, found hateful note. Kansas man Dontarius Williams admits to tagging his own car with racist graffiti. Oh, that's gonna burn on the insurance claim. New York City Muslim woman claimed that 3 men taunted her on train, yelled Donald Trump was false. Indiana organist admitted to painting phrase Heil Hitler on church wall after election results disappointment. Oh, the butthurt is so strong here. Ex-Indiana State University professor accused of creating fake anti-Muslim threats. So you see what's going on, right? And it goes on to list a few more. But let me show you the clip real quick on what Judge Napolitano has to say in regards to this Smollett case. Listen to the question here real carefully.
That he did speak to police several times leading up to this. Most recently, his invites he didn't show, we know that, but he did speak to police. He also spoke in several interviews. He maintained his story throughout. Can those words be used against him?
Yes, Sandra, this very, very important question you have just asked. Each time he lied is a separate and distinct offense if the prosecutors want to frame it that way. Filing the false report is an offense. Lying to them to back it up, first time he met with them, is a second offense. Lying to them to back it up the second time he met with them. So sometimes they merge those into one charge, but if they really want to get aggressive with him, they will file and get the grand jury to approve several charges against him, which expands his exposure in jail and gives the police more negotiating latitude with his lawyers.
I'm going to get to Daniel Linsky.
Okay, so pretty fair to say that dude's got an uphill climb in regards to his comeback tour. We'll see. This is definitely not over, but this is definitely bothering the liberals. And like I said, just in my watching of liberal media, they're clowning him too. Notice a trend by liberals plus Democrats. Fake, fake, fake. Yeah, this blows their fake narrative right out of the water, especially when it leads right back to them. And if indeed there are some text messages for, with him trying to look for some help or whatnot, this is just not going to end well. They will stop at nothing to regain power. Hashtag wake up America Q. Let's move on to the next post where we get a little contrast here. 28:51, 1 minute after the hour of 4 p.m. And we've seen this before. According to the MSM, we got the fringe group, and here we got a nice little crew here with their Q shirts on. It looks to be at a Trump rally. As a matter of fact, I believe we called this picture out before. Really nice looking group. And over on the right, we've got this right here, which looks like Cirque du Soleil. And they've got the Trump balloon there. It seems to be a really common thread for a lot of these people. They like this Trump balloon. Anyway, so yeah, those are the normal people on the right, and on the left is the fringe. Now, look, I'm a guy who grew up in the theater. I'm pretty much accepting of just about anybody as long as you're, respectful to others. But yeah, don't grab the, ooh, goodness, I'm not even going to repeat that. Memes, and more memes, Q says. Why are memes so important? Because memes tell a story. Because memes get through algorithms and can tell the story without getting shadow banned. Memes are important. Memes are glorious. They're funny. Burn the libs. Own the libs, like Bongino says, right? 28:52, 26 minutes after the hour of 4 p.m. We get another Twitter status right here. Smerry Smaler on Twitter. I like it already at Kleba Burger says, Meme War. Well, let's read your meme. From the right side, breaking news. On the left, what the media wants you to believe is happening. And here you have this young man just trying to read the paper, maybe have himself a malt. And these guys right here look like greasers with MAGA hats on. They're the Republicans, and they're there to bully him up. There's Soda Pop and Pony Boy right there, and they're like, what are you doing? You ain't from around here. On the right side, what's really happening is we had this lone young Republican just trying to read his paper and have a malt. And meanwhile, we got the greasers over here picking on him. Well, look, I think inherently your average person, Republican, Democrat, or whatnot, is not a racist. But it looks like these days the Democrats are definitely the party of racism. That's the point they're trying to make. Thanks for the meme war, Smerry Smaler. I like your name. Let's move on. Q says, hashtag truth, hashtag facts matter. Q's been pumping these lately, especially this facts matter one. So this might be one we can get going around. If you are doing memes, you can tag your meme with facts matter. Let's move on to 28:53. We get another Twitter link. 49 minutes after the hour 4, it takes us right here. Truth will prevail. God in control at Never Give Up Wall. And here's more of these hashtags. Stop crimes against children, QAnon, dark to light, where we go one, we go all, pain is coming, D-class now, MAGA, deep state, and here's the meme, patriots have no skin color, Q. And let's check this out. It looks like we got a little prayer circle, and I'm not sure if this is at a Trump rally. It looks like probably a Trump rally, but we got all colors right there, right? And that's the way it looks. That's what America looks right there. Just a bunch of patriots doing their thing, trying to get their country back. No big deal, right? No big deal. We stand together, united, not divided. Where we go one, we go all. Bless you, Patriots. Let's move on. 28:54, 20 minutes after the hour of 5, we get this Forbes link right here. From April 19th, 2018, off of Forbes, the top 4 reasons California is unsustainable. California is a place unlike any other on the globe. It boasts perhaps the greatest natural resources of any state, along with shining high-tech industries. However, like many good economic stories, government policies threaten its future. Now, we're just going to cruise through this. We actually covered this article a long time ago. I don't remember if this was because Q posted it or if it was just in relation to a Q post. Number 4, California's infrastructure deficit. Let's see what number 3, government debt. Number 2, California's taxes and regulations. California also is among the highest tax states in the nation. California has the highest income tax rates. Yeah, somebody needs to tell Miss Ocasio-Cortez how it worked out in California. The top rate is 13.3%. The next closest top tax rate is in Oregon at 9.9%. So imagine if that was way up at 70%, right? Let's see, what was the next one? California governments, of course. California spends nearly $200 billion a year on budget and even more off budget in the form of programs paid with bonds, i.e. debt financing. As for the pension debt, of that nearly $200 billion in the most recent budget, less than $2 billion was allocated to paying down that pension debt. More than that was spent this year on a high-speed rail project that just got shafted, currently estimated to cost $70 billion, and which no one seems to want. It looks like that's going to end up getting thrown in the trash. But you see what's going on. Waste in liberal California. They know what's best for our country. Yeah, this is the home of Pelosi, California rep since 1987. Mad Max Waters since 1991. Little Adam Schiff, California rep since 2001. Feinstein, California rep since 1992. All our favorite deep state knuckleheads. Harris, Liu. Are we watching a movie? Lead by example. California estimated $2 trillion in debt. Homelessness, population on the rise, highest tax rates in the country, undocumented immigrants in California versus nation. Yeah, California, as much as I love it, I lived in San Diego for years. I love California, but it's a perfect example of what not to do. Uncontrollable state government spending. If you can't fix your own home state, what makes you think you can fix the country? If you are living in one of the 49 other states, you should learn from the lesson that is California. If you were living in California, there is always the lesson of how Michigan came to be governed by a more centrist government. Of course, that came after the failure of the prior government, and sadly, that's usually what it takes. For now, however, for all its concern for sustainable foods and product, California is on a high-speed rail to unsustainability. Hashtag facts matter Q. Well, I do hope the best for California, but it seems like they're going to have to get out of that hole, and the only way to do that is education. And look, with all these older knuckleheads that have been around, I think even they're starting to realize they're not as influential as they used to be, and that's why they're trying to crank out these younger faces. It's the same old message, but let's face it, do you want Pelosi telling you that, or do you want Ocasio-Cortez? That's what they're really concerned, is the cosmetics about it. They're still trying to sell you the same old junk. 28:55, 34 minutes after the hour of 5 p.m. We get this Reuters link right here. North Carolina orders new U.S. House election after tainted vote. North Carolina's elections board on Thursday ordered a new election for a U.S. House seat after officials said corruption surrounding absentee ballots tainted the results of a 2018 vote that has embarrassed the Republican Party. The bipartisan board's 5-0 decision came after Republican candidate Mark Harris, which was the Harris that Q was referring to, confronted by days of evidence that an operative for his campaign orchestrated a ballot fraud scheme called for a new vote in the state's 9th congressional district. It's become clear to me that the public's confidence in the 9th district seat general election has been undermined to an extent that a new election is warranted, Harris said on the 4th day of the hearing in Raleigh, the state capital. Elections Board Chairman Bob Cordell said the corruption and absolute mess with absentee ballots had cast doubt on the entire contest. It certainly was a tainted election, Cordell said. The people of North Carolina deserve a fair election. The race is the country's last unsettled 2018 congressional contest, and the outcome will not change the balance of power in the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives. But evidence of ballot fraud by the Harris campaign turned the tables on the Republican Party, which has accused Democrats with little evidence of encouraging individual voter fraud in races such as the 2016 presidential election. Harris's request for a new vote came as a surprise after he spent months trying to fend off a rerun. He led Democrat Dan McCready by 905 votes out of 282,717 ballots cast on November 6th. I know, but election officials refused to certify him the winner because of allegations of irregularities in the vote. Okay, interesting stuff. So, another battle in the swing state of North Carolina. It is unclear whether Harris, 52, will run again. He told the board he was recovering from an infection last month that led to sepsis and 2 strokes, and said his illness led to memory lapses during the hearing that made him realize he was not prepared for the rigors of the proceeding. My goodness. North Carolina's Democratic Party said the hearing laid bare the Harris campaign's illegal scheme to steal an election. McCready wasted no time in tweeting to supporters to donate to his campaign for the new election. So, interesting stuff. Let me finish it off with this here. But residents of at least 2 counties in the district said Dowless and his paid workers collected incomplete absentee ballots and in some instances falsely signed as witnesses and filled in votes for contests left blank, according to testimony at the hearing. Harris campaign officials said they did not pay Dowless to do anything illegal, and Dowless maintained his innocence. Q says, welcome to the Democrat Party. They will stop at nothing to regain power. Time to adopt voter ID law. Yeah, look, otherwise this is just going to be accusing on both sides for the rest of our lives. And we're tired of it. Voter ID law fixes this. Okay, it's not going to fix everything, but it's most certainly going to fix a lot of these major problems that just aren't necessary. If we had voter ID law, we wouldn't have all these ridiculous absentee ballots to try and figure out, right? We would know who's voting, we would know who's legal to vote, and we would know who isn't. Would it still be imperfect? Of course, very, very likely, but at least it would be much, much better. All right, those are your Q posts. And finally, I want to leave you with this interesting post from the POTUS on Twitter. I want 5G and even 6G technology in the United States as soon as possible. It is far more powerful, faster, and smarter than the current standard. American companies must step up their efforts or get left behind. There is no reason that we should be lagging behind on something that is so obviously the future. I want the United States to win through competition, not by blocking out currently more advanced technologies. We must always be the leader in everything we do, especially when it comes to the very exciting world of technology. Okay, well, I love me some Q and I love me some POTUS, but I don't love this idea at all. Now, to be fair, I just read this tweet hours ago, and usually when I read things like this, I want to give it a couple days to let things kind of sift on the surface. I don't love it at all. I've read plenty of literature in regards to 5G technology, being incredibly dangerous. And I'm not interested in getting cooked from the inside. Now, having said that, like I said, I'm willing to withhold judgment until we talk a little bit more about this. I thought it was very interesting that the POTUS was talking about 6G technology. Now, I'm not sure if the POTUS might be opening up a doorway to start talking about some more advanced technology, which I would really, really welcome. We all know about the relations between Nikola Tesla and Trump's family. So I do want to, kind of leave some room to kind of be malleable about my opinion on this. But on the surface, of course, I am not excited about this 5G stuff. Now, that being said, if there are those of you out there who have some literature to share in regards to it not being as dangerous, I would like to see that. But most of the literature that I've seen, I don't really need to see a ton more of that, seems to me like this is incredibly dangerous. So this is a big, big topic. It's going to be a very polarizing topic. So I do hope that you will comment down below respectfully to each other. It's okay to disagree on this. I'm not sure necessarily what the motives are, if this has something to do with dealing with trade talks with China. POTUS had some interesting things to say regarding Space Force the other day. It would not surprise me that this 5G and 6G technology now would be part of that conversation too. But like I said, there's still a lot more information that I would like to get before making any rash judgments. But on the surface, I definitely did not like that tweet, and I know a lot of you guys agreed with me. But that being said, we do need to have conversations about that. We need to be respectful about that because it is a very polarizing topic, and I know people feel very passionate about it. So please show respect in regards to sharing your views on that conversation. I would greatly appreciate it. And it would be really nice to see Q get involved in that and give us a little bit of their insight in regards to that topic too. I know it would probably set a lot of minds at ease. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen, those are your Q posts. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who've been liking and sharing my videos. I greatly appreciate everything that you guys do. You mean the world to me, truly. If you are new to my channel, welcome to you. Please understand that from time to time you will get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed. That's how things happen when you're searching for truth on the internet these days. So be careful. All my alternate links are down below if you'd like to join me at one of those. My Gab, my BitChute, my Brighteon.com, and of course I'm always popping my mouth over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. If you're on Twitter, please give me a join, won't you? My email link is down below. And my P.O. box is down below if you're old school. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below. All those links are down below. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack. And until next time, stay funky.